Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our virtual career series here with Talent Search. I'm Hayden Smedley, and today I'm very excited to introduce Rayla Lindon. She is a funeral home director and an embalmer, so a very interesting field. She's going to be sharing some insights and how typical day looks for her in her field and how she chose her career path. So just kind of stay with us here, valuable information, and maybe even some inspiration to go into the field. There will be some Q&A question and answer sessions at the end of our discussion. So if you have any questions, type them in the chat or let me know. It's just me and you. I'll ask questions later. Please feel free to ask them. We encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity. I do want to say thank you so much again, Rayla, for meeting with me, taking time out of your busy schedule. I understand it's super crazy, and you're willing, you're willing to share your experiences and what you do. It's a little bit, of a taboo career, but it's very
Yes.
interesting. So it's greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. I will let you have the floor.
Well, thank you for allowing me to speak. Um, like you said, my name is Rayla. I'm 40 years old and I am a 2003 graduate of Morgan County High School. When I got out of high school, I attended Morehead State University and I realized that college was not for me starting out. So I took a break. I got married, had my daughter, and got divorced. And being a single mom, I knew I had to do something and I wanted to make her proud. And at the age of 5, I decided that I wanted to work in a funeral home. How that came about is I have family that owns several funeral homes, and I attended the funeral of one of my great aunts, and I decided then I was like, hmm, that it's amazing how somebody could take something because we seen her in the hospital when she passed away. I realized, how she looked then and how she looked now, and I was like, that just amazed me that somebody could do something like that. And I thought, I want to do that. I want to give a family the lasting image that they're not hooked up to all this stuff and everything. And that's what I wanted to do. At the time that I decided I wanted, as I got older and I decided that, it was time for me to do this, my daughter was still very young. And I had already put in like 2 semesters at Morehead. Morehead did not offer a funeral class. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I graduated from Morehead State University in 2013 with a bachelor's degree in social work with a focus on grief counseling. After I graduated from there, I knew I just wanted to go into the funeral aspect of what was going to be my career. And I started March of 2014 at Mid America College of Funeral Services in Jeffersonville, Indiana. Now, if you were interested in doing this, there are two colleges that are local, what would consider local. There
Mhm.
is Mid America College of Funeral Services in Jeffersonville, Indiana, and there is Cincinnati College of Mortuary Science in Cincinnati, Ohio. Now, I do know that Mid America now offers a course online. I'm not 100% sure about Cincinnati. Believe it or not, those are rival schools, so we don't really,
Communicate.
yeah, we don't communicate with the others. So, um, the an interesting fact though that people do not understand is to be a funeral director, you do not have to go to school. You have to go to school to be an embalmer, which is what I am.
Okay.
I am a Kentucky state licensed funeral director and embalmer. So, to be a funeral director, actually, all you need to do is you need to find a funeral home that will take you under their wing as an apprentice. You serve an apprenticeship, and then after you serve your apprenticeship, you go before the Kentucky State Board of Funeral Directors and Embalmers, which is located in Louisville, Kentucky. You take a 300 question test, and you pass it. You get your funeral director license. Now, to become an embalmer, you do have to go to school for that. Where I already had a bachelor's degree going into it, I only had to go a year.
Okay.
The average at the time that I went, The average college length was 2 years. You started off doing your general college, and then after you finished your general college, you went into the um, funeral part of it. And I graduated from Mid America College of Funeral Service with a bachelor's degree in funeral science in March of 2015, and I started work in April of 2015. So I did not take a break in between.
Hit the ground running.
I hit the ground running. I was lucky enough through my college that they had a job placement, and they placed me with a mortuary service in Lexington, Kentucky. Now, a mortuary service is different than a funeral home setting. We got the worst of the worst. We got
Okay.
what the funeral homes didn't want to go do, what they were not able to do, all that. So I still had to do my apprenticeship after I graduated. So I was able to do both my funeral directing and embalming apprenticeship through the trade service that I worked at. And within a year, I went and I took that big 300 question test, and I became a licensed funeral director and embalmer. After that, I jumped around from mortuary services, and I thought, I want to go somewhere closer to home, and there was no mortuary services around here. Um, I worked in Lexington and I worked in London, Kentucky, and I saw a job opening for 15 minutes down the road from my house, and I jumped on it, and that's where I've been since. I'm currently the embalming manager, because in a funeral home you have to have a dual licensed person. A dual licensed person is a funeral director and an embalmer. So, and I am a dual licensed person, and I'm the only dual licensed person there. So I am the only embalmer at the funeral home that I work at.
Okay.
Um, so whatever comes in, that's what if you go to Sayersville Funeral Home and you see a body, I've embalmed it.
Okay.
A typical day at the funeral home, well, that basically depends on if we have a body or not. The past 24 hours for me has been very crazy. Um, I'm usually the first one there. It's me and another full time guy there. We do have some part time people, but they don't stay in the office like me and this other guy does. I'm normally the first person there, and I'm the last person to leave.
Mm.
Um, we like yesterday we had a call. It was all the way in Lexington at a hospital, and hospitals can be very tedious. For some reason, they want them out of there. So they were like, if you can't be here in 2 hours, I'm gonna have to move them to the morgue. I was like, oh my gosh, okay. So I had to take advantage of a mortuary service and had them go pick up. That's a question I get all the time. What happens if you can't go get somebody? Um, Families are very understanding. We're very busy, and most families are very understanding that we utilize other sources outside the funeral home. So, with that being, a pretty good little drive, and the only two of us there in the office all the time, we utilized that yesterday.
Mhm.
And basically, what I can't do anything until that body gets there. I don't announce that we have a body. I don't do anything until that body gets there, out of respect of both the family and the deceased. As soon as that body gets there, we have a paper that comes from the hospital, and that has all of our information that we can make public at that time. And we put it on our website, we put it on our phone line. Um, I did not embalm this one. We had the trade service go ahead and embalm it, so it came to me already embalmed, so I did not have to do that. Um, my other director, he's the one that makes all the arrangements, so he went ahead and it's actually some of his family, so he went ahead and got up with them, scheduled them a time to come in. I make sure that the laptop is charged, that we have all of our paperwork that we need for the arrangement conference, and I clean. We're getting ready for this family to come in. This morning when I went in, I put coffee on, turned the lights on, made it welcoming for the family, And the family came in, they made arrangements, and as soon as that folder hits my desk, that's when it starts. Um, I do insurance for the funeral home. I call and I have to report the death and give them all that information that they need, the date that they died, what state they died in. We have a form that we have to send in. That way we get our money. They ask if we were filling out that form. I told them yes. Then um, I do the dressing, the casketing, and the cosmetizing as well. So I went back. I got the gentleman ready for his services tomorrow. The only thing I didn't do is put him in the casket, and I can't do that by myself. So we'll be doing that first thing in the morning and getting him set up in our chapel. And yeah, I mean, we have an outside source that does our cards and they do our videos. Had to make sure that the family got all of that to us in time. So, I mean, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that the public don't
Don't
see,
see
and there's a lot that me being a girl in this profession, it is a very male dominant profession.
field.
So I I get a lot of, well, the other director done a good job, didn't he? And I'm like, he didn't do that. I did that. So, um, I have to say my favorite part of my profession would have to be the reconstruction. I am actually one of the top 5 reconstructive artists in the state of Kentucky. And
Hmm.
it is known in Eastern Kentucky that I am good at what I do. I'm not trying to brag or anything, but
You take pride
um,
in your work.
I do I take very much pride in my work. I and they do know all the guys in the office. They know if there is something that comes in that I have no clue about, I will do my research. As soon as we get a call and it's a gunshot wound, and the coroner's office that the body comes from says there's no way this body can be open. There's no way you're going to have an open casket service. And they come to me, I automatically start doing my research. And I actually had this happen a while back, and I was able to give that family closure. We had an open casket service. And the coroner from that county came in and said there was no way that we would have thought that you all would have been able to do this. And they're like,
See, that's
the director was like, I didn't do that. That I'm known as the little girl at the funeral home. So he's like, I didn't do that. The little girl did it. So if you come
we
in, that's yeah.
often as people that's not in the field, and
Hmm.
myself included, and others,
Hmm.
you don't think about that kind of stuff.
No.
And when you're doing the reconstructive part, like someone like fail or something,
Hmm.
it's probably a lot of work. I mean, you're doing plastic surgery on the
It
deceased,
is.
basically.
It is.
So,
I think the longest that I have done reconstruction on is I handled the service of an 18-year-old little girl that passed away in a car accident. She was actually ejected from the car, and I spent 2 days on her. I spent 2 days um, making it to where her family had closure, because just the manner of her death and the story behind it, it was very dramatic. And I thought, my end goal, and I tell everybody this, my end goal is to have an open casket service. It's never to have a closed casket. If I have a closed casket service, I feel like I have failed my family. And I have been doing this since I've been in the funeral profession since 2015. Like I said, I have been with this funeral home since 2019. And I think the whole time that I have been with this funeral home, I have had 2 closed caskets. And that was stuff that was beyond my control. So, yeah, I'm pretty proud of that. Um,
so I had a question, just
mhm,
one for now.
mhm.
Do most families, like, oftentimes when people go to funerals and you know they ask if you want it open or closed. Now, do you see it being like more families are wanting to have an open, but they're like, let's keep it closed, or do you like try to persuade them like, hey, if you want an open casket and you think it's too bad, I can do a procedure to make it open. Make it
Normally at the funeral home that I'm at, um, I have had more people come in and say, "We're gonna end up closing her." And I always say, "Wait. Give me time to do what I can do and come in, because what we do is we allow families to come in an hour before services. That way they have their time with the loved one and they can make any I can make any final adjustments, anything that needs to be done. And within that hour they decide if they want to keep them open or closed. And out of, say, I have 5 families that come in and say, we're really on the edge if we want to keep her open. We're probably going to close them. I've had 4 say, "No, keep them open."
well, that's probably what I was going to hit at next. It's probably very rewarding. I mean,
Yeah.
the sense of accomplishment, knowing you said earlier that you really take pride in what you do, and it's a grieving, it helps grieving families. I mean, I've
Yes.
been everyone. Death is something you can't avoid. Pretty much everyone has had to
Exactly.
experience a funeral at
Mhm.
least once, or
Yeah.
most people have. If you're
Yeah.
fortunate enough not to, then you're doing good.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's something I
Yeah.
think is. I had a questions. I got a couple
Okay.
questions. If you want to answer them, you've hit on some. So you said like the most rewarding part of your work. I would
Mhm.
say you really take pride in your reconstruction, and
Yes.
you kind of hit that. So I'm not, that was just one.
Okay.
So how do you like? You don't have to answer this, but a question I had was like prioritizing self care because like the overall nature of what you do, you make it seem very
Yeah.
cheerful and optimistic, but it's still you're dealing with the
Oh,
deceased, and I
yeah.
know that probably takes a toll on somebody.
Yes, yes. Um, self care with me is very few, far, and in
I was gonna say
between.
very rare, like
Um,
me. I understand.
that's like just today. You would not know that just at 3:30 today, I was on the phone being yelled at, cussed at, everything by a family member that was upset about a service. And I kind of I don't let it get to me personally. Because I understand a lot of times these families, they do not they're not in their they're not
Mhm.
thinking. They're going through the grieving process, and a lot of one of the steps in grieving is anger. So I feel like that's what they're doing. So I don't take it personally. When I first started this, I took everything too hard. And in the end, after I was on the other side of it, I have been at the funeral home that I work at, I have been the embalmer, the funeral director, and the client. I I buried my little girl's dad in January of 2023.
I'm sorry about
And
that.
I took on all 3 roles. I took on the role as the funeral director, I took on the role as the embalmer, and I took on the role as the grieving client. And being the grieving client, I went through that grieving process and I stood back and I thought, I now see what my clients go through and I can't take it personally. So
Okay.
I take a lot of vacations now. Even though I take vacations, though, I am still on call. They still call me. So, but
You still working? They got
I'm
that phone? They're
still
gonna call you.
in this profession. You do not get a day off. You are on call 24/7 every day of the year. There has been many Christmases, Christmas Eves that I've been standing in the prep room embalming bodies. So
That's something to really think about if you're going into the field. This
yes,
career, you got to think it's kind of a
yeah,
dedicated profession. It's about like being a doctor, but at least they can schedule surgeries. You can't
yes,
schedule death. It's
yes,
uncertain.
yes. I mean, you you don't you don't put anything in your calendar in ink. You put it in pencil.
So like
That's kind of how
math homework you used to do to scribble it out.
exactly. That's like this weekend. I was thinking, okay, I've got a weekend. I can do. I can go to hillbilly days on Saturday. I can do this. No, I have a funeral at 11 o'clock on Saturday now, so I will not be probably will not be going to hillbilly days.
Oh, that's sad. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Um, Another question I was going to wrap up with,
Okay.
as you've been in there, you said you've been with the industry now almost 10 years.
Yes.
15, 20. So, congratulations on 10 years of service, by the
Thank
way.
you.
Uh, so how has it changed over the years? Like the industry, has it changed at all? I'm sure COVID has changed everything. So I'm assuming it's probably changed your
Yes.
guys's. And then is there any opportunities? Like, has there been any new positions? Like, have you noticed there been more of a need in the field? So if you want to touch
Yes.
base on that
Yes.
before we wrap up, that's fine.
Okay. COVID affected us dramatically. Believe it or not, we went from being able to have full services to we have to have a graveside service and we can only allow 10 people to be at the service. And that is including the funeral director, the cemetery staff, and the preacher. And in small little towns in eastern Kentucky,
There's like 50.
a lot of people have 10 kids. And we're like,
Hmm.
oh, and I mean, we had to be that person that said, you know, you're going to have to tell somebody they're going to have to be way out in left field for this because we can't have them right there. So COVID dramatically affected us. It affected us going into hospitals and communicating with families
Hmm.
on the removal because that's where we first have our interaction with a lot of families. So it came to we were going up there picking up these bodies to we were giving our cot to hospital staff and having the hospital staff go and pick up the body and bring to us. So that was like a very dramatic thing in my eyes because
Yeah.
at the time of death, you want to see a friendly face. You don't want to see a security guard coming and taking mom out the door or something. You want to see a friendly face doing this, some a familiar face.
Hmm.
Um, a change in the industry, I would have to say since I have been doing this, they have actually got a new certification through the state of Kentucky that you can do. And that is called a transportation certification. Basically, what that is if you don't want to do the whole meeting with the family, being a funeral director, you don't want to do the embalming, but you want to go and pick up the bodies, you go and you sit through like an 8 hour class and you get
Hmm.
your transportation certification. And that's basically all you do. You just go pick up bodies and bring them back to the funeral home.
That seems really, that's probably like somebody who wants to be in the industry or someone that's getting maybe, I ain't going to say tired or burnt out of what they're
Mhm.
doing.
Mhm.
It's a really
Yeah.
good opportunity. So I think it's
Yeah.
something different, but you're still doing what you love.
Yeah.
So that's, uh,
Something that I would suggest people doing, and I'm only saying this because I seen it firsthand last year. Something I would suggest for anybody that's thinking about going into this industry is find a funeral home that will allow you to come in and sit through an arrangement conference. If you know somebody that will allow you to go in and watch an embalming, because you have to have permission from the family for anybody that's not licensed to watch an embalming. See if there's somebody that the funeral home knows that will allow you to come in and watch an embalming and watch the process, watch what happens, and because you would be surprised, a lot of people. There's people that are grossed out by blood. There's people that are grossed out by just the smallest things. And until you've actually been in that prep room and you have watched an embalming, you can't say, "Oh, I'll be able to do this," because I had a little girl come in. The family gave permission to watch the embalming. She watched the embalming. I went to close the gentleman's mouth, and she hit the ground. She passed out on me. And I never thought that it would be closing a mouth would make somebody pass out. And at the end, I looked at her and I said, "Honey, you need to think of another profession because
another career.
there's no way." And the thing, and what was sad was the girl was already enrolled in college. She was taking classes for this, and I'm like,
She's invested.
you need to get out of this. You can't do this. So
Get out of it or get over your fear.
yeah, yeah. So that's my suggestion to anybody that is thinking about going into this career is get in touch with a funeral home and get in there and see. Maybe, maybe the embalming's not for you, that the funeral directing is. And that's me. I would rather be in the prep room doing that than making arrangements, going on removals, all that. I am a behind the scenes person. That's me.
I mean, it's very interesting, and I've never. This is very rewarding for me, I will say, and any of the students, because I have a couple that are interested, but they told me they had a college visit today.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know. However, but they have been shown great interest. Again, I want to thank you for your time. If you have any, I'm assuming if anyone has any questions, I can ask you. They can reach out to you. You
Yes.
got some very, very good insights and good information, even from me. So very rewarding. Thank you so much again.
Well, thank you for
And
having me.
uh, and I believe that'll end it. If you want to stick around, we can. I'll
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.